Hello, this time I will be representing my fellow authors in presenting our recent research using ERP software for MSMEs, Indonesian cultural impacts. My name is Alexandra Adriani Widjaja. I am representing my fellow authors, Agnes Adventia Krismastuti, Vena Purnamasari, Stefana Diah Ayu, and Roberto Setiawan Aji Nugroho. Our research is talking about why small medium enterprise is so reluctant to use ERP technology. Small medium enterprise do not consider the impact of industrial 4.0 models. This is based on previous research. So they do not make many changes even though they know that the world is changing. However, COVID-19 forced them to reconsider internet-based digitalization and even change their business model to survive the pandemic. The biggest challenge for them is integrated transaction, reporting, and decision-making. So actually, they really need an ERP software to help them with that. However, they cannot just incorporate it or implement many other ERP software out there because they really need ERP software that fit into their condition. I emphasize fit into the condition because small medium enterprise has a limitation on human resource capability and also capital. So even though there are numerous ERP software and applications out there, they cannot just directly implement it into their business due to their limitation. So it's really important that provide them with ERP software that fit into their condition. So why MSMEs? Why not big company? Indonesia SMEs plays a strategic role in its economics. It absorbs 97% of our national workforce. SMEs also contribute to 57% of Indonesia's GDP. In Indonesia, micro enterprises also include as small-medium enterprise. According to that, we widen the scope of this research into micro, small, and medium enterprises, which is MSMEs. We try to deep dive further into this topic from cultural impact because owner perception will affect organization development. This study focused on how culture make a great impact for owner decision for using technology. Recent research showed that owner core value drive organizational culture development practices. That's why our research is basically based on individual behavioral theory. From this theory, it said that individual behavior is derived by individual factors, environmental factors, behavioral, and the outcomes. Based on this theory, individual behavioral affected by individual and environmental factors. Eventually, individual behavior will affect outcomes. So culture is emerged as one of individual and environmental factors. So culture will shape individual behavior and eventually will affect outcomes. Recent research of enterprise resource planning software actually show that there are many benefits that come from ERP implementation. ERP implementation is not only limited to large company, it can be also developed for MSMEs. The result of previous studies also show that ERP is able to increase the effectiveness of the performance of a business activity. It is very helpful, especially in improving management control and improving company competitive management. The main advantage of ERP is in its ability to reduce costs and improve the quality of decision that must be implemented. Participants of our research is chosen by snowball sampling. So we identify group coordinator existed in industrial center city at Central Java, such as Pekalongan, Tegal, Brebes, and Semarang. Then they are divided into 8 groups according to Indonesian health protocol during COVID-19 pandemic. Why they have to be divided into 8 groups? Because it's related to our research phase. The first phase of our research is initial system configuration. In that phase, we try to configure the system to fit into their business. And then the second step is to do user training. In this step, we ask our students to help them and to do mentoring to help them to set up the database and train them in so they can input their daily transaction into the system. And after using it for several months, we organizing a group discussion forum to get a feedback from our participants. So our participant profile, just as shown, almost 90% of them is on manufacturing business sector, and the rest is from service and trading business sectors. Due to the pandemic, mostly of them, or more than 70%, is already did a online marketing method while still maintaining the offline marketing method. And because our research is basically on Central Java, mostly of our participants is come from Javanese ethnic that is dominate Central Java. So we try to look from cultural point of view by using Javanese ethnic culture point of view. For Japanese people, they really familiar with these 3 basic principles in life. The first one is maduboso. It means that one has to use good language and also have respectfulness for each other, especially for elder. The second one is maduroso. It means that we have obligation to have a good feeling of consideration for each others. And madubroto, the last one, means that we have a good restraint and contemplation. So how these 3 principles affect their attitude towards such a technology like ERP? So our research showed that participants tend to have preferences to avoid uncertainty, which is very good. People try to avoid uncertainty in the business world. This action is actually consistent with Madubroto concept. They prefer to have a good restraint, so they would avoid risk from uncertainty. However, how they avoid it, it's really interesting. They prefer maintaining harmonization in their business and eliminating confrontation rather than looking for accounting and financial information. So their intention to use ERP system as their tools tend to be low. This practice is consistent with the concept of Madu Boso and Madu Roso, which is held by the Javanese people. Our findings show that our participant also has a pragmatic culture. Decisions to change the industrial sectors are more influenced by observation of the needs of the surrounding community, not based on accounting and financial information of the real condition of the business. They also tend to be cynical and pessimistic, including addressing the information needs for their business. New things such as ERP for business management are considered not a necessity. So this condition is really interesting because at the one side, they know that ERP is really helpful. They aware that it can help them to improve their decision making, but they prefer not to choose to use it. So maybe it's because they really tend to be cynical and pessimistic, and they assume that they have a better way dealing with their business rather than turn their attention into numbers. So we can conclude that there are a high demand actually into ERP software that fit into the condition. They know that it was useful, but however, the level of intention to utilize the system is still very low. This is triggered based on our research. This is triggered by the existing culture in society that hinders their acceptance of the new system or technology. So maybe in the future, it will be really interesting to do further research from this cultural point of view to answer the why question, why they are still reluctant to use such technology. Thank you. And if you have any question, you can drop your question directly to my email, alexandra@unica.ac.id. See you next time.